All righty. Good morning, everybody. Especially good morning to Harsha. Bless his heart. He's on the West Coast and he's up and at it this morning. So, but good morning, everybody. You're probably like, Taylor, why are you going live on Mondays? Guidance council, and also what is Torc Talks like? So, I want to do a quick rundown for people who are tuning in. So one of the things that one of the things we do at Torc is we work with a lot of founders to help staff up their engineering teams. We go all the way up to enterprise, right? So I was talking with our sales team and I was like, I would love to just meet some of these founders, tell their stories, what's going on, talk about startup culture, startup life. It's crazy competitive right now. And so Harsha's Harsha's the guinea pig. Harsha, you're the guinea pig. So congratulations, you're the first. Really excited to hang out with Harsha here for the next about 25 minutes or so. He's got a hard stop, so we'll be respectful to him. But yeah, so Torc Talks, we're going to continue to do these. They're going to be on Mondays now. And then, of course, my live show, Guidance Counselor 2.0, will be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So again, if you are tuning in, please say, hey, would love to hear from you. I think it's gonna be a great conversation today. Just give you a little bit more peel behind the onion, if you will, of startup culture, startup life. What's it look like? We'll get into Harsha's story and Slashy, but they were just backed by YC. So huge props to Harsha and the crew at Slashy. So we're going to talk about that today. But of course, as always, want to give kind of a quick shout out. First off, shout out AppWrite. I am a AppWrite hero. Probably the only non-technical guy on a heroes program. So they're great product, great software. Go tell the folks over at AppWrite that the Torc boy sent you. Jason Torres, my business partner, is also a AppWrite hero as well. And then also, listen, we got a lot going on in Torc community. Again, we are community first. We got a lot going on. So if you want to check out all the events we have going on this week, check out torc.community. We just did a brand new refresh on our webpage. It looks great. It's nice, it's sleek. We got some testimonials. We got our mentor-mentee programs, our ambassador programs. It looks great. So go check it out, torc.community. Also, if you want to be kept in the loop of when I go live with amazing guests like Harsha, text live to this number. This is my number. It only works in the States. We're trying to figure out, I think we're going to do a WhatsApp or something like that for folks across the globe. But again, go check that out. And of course, as always, listen, we have a great community in our Discord. We have close to 5,000 members in our Discord to help people navigate through their job search. So please check that out. All right. So Harsha, let's get into it, man. Let's give the people what they want. Let's start off. Who are you? A little bit about your background and what is Slashy?
Yeah. So I'm Harsha. A little bit about Slashy just to start is we're like an agentic layer over work operation software. So a much simpler way of putting that is that we connect to like your Gmail, your Slack, your Google Calendar, your Salesforce, etc., perform actions automatically for you. So a common use case of us is just to prepare for like sales meetings for the day. It just researches all past communications over email, Slack, HubSpot, etc., along with researching the web and just scraping the LinkedIn to kind of give you a quick rundown on who you're meeting with. And then as for me, I grew up in Wisconsin and worked on assembly line in high school, but then was lucky enough to go to Georgia Tech for computer science. And
Nice.
worked on a dating startup, got acquired there, and then moved on to work on this. We pivoted like 3 times with my co-founders and then picked this and we're lucky enough to get into YC and has been a roller coaster quite since.
Yeah. I have no doubt. So a lot of questions to ask you today. And again, I know time is valuable. So I wanted to, I guess, ask like, what's the OG, like, what's the origin story? Like, why did you create Slashy? What was the idea that came out of it or for it?
Yeah. So like pretty much in a previous like version, we just realized in a previous startup was just that a lot of our time was wasted doing dumb stuff, like just like answering emails, like doing research and creating spreadsheets and like just kind of consolidating information. There's a lot of just like low value work that we didn't really need to do and that we felt like could have been automated. So we were like, fuck it, let's just lock ourselves in a conference room for 40 hours until we could make something that would do this for us. And so we did that, and then we launched in Product Hunt. We were lucky enough to get Product of the Day, and
That's awesome.
Since then we've just been building it out fully.
I love that. Now, I feel like I feel, and you validated this backstage, but I feel like there's a lot of competitors to this.
Yeah.
Talk about what is y'all's edge? And again, everybody's tuning in now. We're about 9:30. I knew that was going to happen. Good morning, everybody. I see everybody commenting. Talk about y'all's competitive edge versus maybe some other folks out there.
Yeah, I guess like first off, good morning to everyone as well. Second, I think one of the biggest things for us is just better users. So we're one of the few products in this space that have a free consumer version for stuff, which helps a lot because I think one of our common things is you can put us with 100 users versus the smartest person in the world with 0 users, and we're going to design a better like agentic system than they will, just because the way agents work is you give them tools, which are virtually just like API calls.
Sure.
But you need to design these tools and API calls in a way that's really easy for the models to understand.
Yep.
But it's hard to understand how to design them well until you see 100 people use the actual product, because even though I could be like, oh, I want my spreadsheets made this way, someone else could be like, I want my spreadsheets all right aligned with like blue backgrounds behind it, while I just want like traditional white ones. And so it's like all these complexities that you could get from humans means that the only way to really design good tools is to actually see humans use those tools in the wild.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually gonna. So I pulled up your website. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and we can like talk through it a little bit. I think it looks pretty great. So let's talk about some practical tactical things here. So what? Download Slashy and it kind of embed and you get a bit access to everything, right?
Yeah.
And then so talk about probably the most used feature of your app. Like if somebody wants to use Slashy tomorrow, what do you think like the easiest thing to use it for?
Yeah. If you actually scroll down, we have a few use cases as well, so we can actually just see what the most popular ones are. So if you go up a little bit, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, right here. Okay.
Yeah. So like some of the most common ones are just like finding the contact info of people from LinkedIn and like scraping LinkedIn. Another one is just preparing for sales usage, like I was saying. And then the third most common one is usually like doing stuff with like content and content calendars and helping plan out your things. And then the fourth one is kind of like information consolidation is the way we call it, where you would be like, oh, like look through my emails, look through my Notion, or whatever, look through my spreadsheet data and kind of get me a report that I can give to my boss. But that one's a bit weird because everyone kind of does it in their own way. So it's harder for me to be like, here's a very specific way everyone does it, because we all kind of just share notes and write information in different ways.
Yeah, I love it. That's really, really cool. So let me ask you this. There's obviously a large conversation out there. Do we get outside investment? Do we not? Was it for you guys? Was it like YC or bust? Like, was it like, hey, we're only going to go to YC. We only want to go through that route. Talk to me about the thought of raising some capital.
Yeah. For us, I think it just made sense to go and get capital because it was hard to be clearly profitable from the start.
Okay.
Just because of the nature of the business, where we have a lot of free users and we need to cover like API costs and the like. It was just like it's really hard for us to have like done this without being venture backed.
Okay.
I think it depends, and then it's like the potential of this, if it works out, is just so high. Where it's like we view it as a potential $1 trillion company if what we do works, but there's also a good chance that we're worth $0 really fast. In terms of stuff which I think is perfect for venture capital, is like these kind of risky businesses where there's decent, like pretty high competition, and realistically you're not going to be profitable for at least a year or two.
Sure. So would you say most of your cost right now is with the API calls?
I think a good chunk is. I think it's a bigger thing is more just the fact that you need to have free users on the platform, which just means like we're profitable on our paid users, but just for free users and maintaining those as a high customer, I guess it's just a high CAC.
Absolutely. Talk about, I'm fascinated, we hear the stories all the time, bunch of guys and girls in a conference room kind of hacking out something. Obviously it sounds like you guys did that as well. Can you talk about through that process? I mean, I'm sure it was exciting. Did anybody sleep? Like, I mean, talk about just like the excitement, just in the process of sitting in a room for 40 hours, knocking this out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just like, it was hard to sleep, I think is what I would say. Like, I don't think, none of us slept. I think it's just, when you're building something like that and you're like, this could this is something that we don't think anyone's done right, and we want to see if we can do it, it's really hard to sleep. I think especially as founders, it's like it never makes sense to wait an extra day for
Sure.
something.
Sure.
Obviously, sleep over time is great. Like you shouldn't be like doing all nighters every night.
Yeah.
But like yeah, it was just like one of those things where like, okay, like this could be insane. This could be something we could see ourselves building the next 5 to 10 years of our life for. And it's like the only way to validate if it's worth it is to launch this as fast as possible and get feedback. So it was just like a thing of sleep.
How did you guys get feedback? Right. I'm kind of curious. I mean, obviously you guys had your growing pains and past experiences, but how did you get the kind of early users and validation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us was just like posting on social media, and then like also on Product Hunt was just what we did. Like I don't really believe as much in getting feedback from friends.
Sure.
And this stuff. So I just like to post it out in the wild, like post on Reddit, post on LinkedIn. Lucky enough to have a decent amount of followers on social media. So then, yeah, just getting feedback from there and just launching it out in the public.
I love it. Question from Sebastian. Harsha, I noticed on Slash you said that privacy and security are important. How does your team reinforce that?
Yeah. Yeah. So for privacy and security, yeah, some of the stuff that we just do is, and it's like, I wouldn't say it's the best way to do a database structure. I mean, we'll probably change it over time, but it's like
Sure.
we kind of just silo everything user by user. So it's like we don't really get access to user data because each user pretty much has their own like database virtually, like a mini database.
Okay.
For stuff. And then yeah, like on our side, it's like we have like a few proxies to our backend to help protect against like any bad actors and that like, and then yeah, in the process of getting SOC 2 compliance with things as well. But
okay.
Yeah, the biggest thing is more just like not being able to clearly access users' data is like the easiest way for this, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you this. How did you meet your co-founders? Like, you know, because again, one of the big things with Torc is community first. We're all about networking. I mean, everybody kind of in the chat right now is either in the Discord or kind of part of the Torc community. Mm-hmm. How did you find the people to work with? Talk about from that perspective.
Yeah. So I was just from going to events. So like, luckily I went to Georgia Tech for college. Luckily, like there's this club called Startup Exchange at Georgia Tech that like a lot of people just go to if they're interested in startups. So I just happened to meet my co-founders at one of those events. Okay. And I just happened to kind of line up that, yeah, we all were like working on different things. We were like kind of looking for new co-founders around the same time in terms of stuff. So just kind of like the stars aligned there.
So, and when so you obviously, you know, I talk about this all the time. You're obviously probably a pretty big fan of like going to events, correct? Like showing up, getting networked. I mean, talk about the ecosystem in San Francisco. I mean, I'm sure there's a high amount of people in that area. I'm sure you're shaking a lot of hands. I mean, what would you say being in San Francisco, because you were in Atlanta, moved out to San Francisco, would you say that has accelerated a lot of just growth being in that ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's like helped a lot. Like I would just say just like it's more of a thing of just the people you meet. I think is really important because it's like you could go and learn every lesson you could by yourself, or you could just go talk to someone who's already learned like some of these lessons and just learn them from them secondhand, and you'll just like go along way faster.
Yeah.
For stuff. So it's like just having that community of other people doing the same thing is really helpful, I think.
I love
and you can get those communities in other spots as well. I think SF just has the most of them, but like
sure.
Yeah, like I know New York has a decent community, Boston does, and Europe, I think especially Stockholm have a few as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. Have you guys had to pivot yet? Like, I mean, like from like the 40 hours in a conference room to now, have you guys had any missteps that you're willing to share that you guys be like, oh, great, that was not good, we should probably go this way?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things is we like really were at the start, we wanted to be like ChatGPT for general agents. So we're like, with that, naturally, we need to have a completely free product. The difference was we just don't have OpenAI's like funding for stuff.
Yeah.
So we were like, at one point, we were like, wow, one of our users spent like on a paid plan, which was unlimited usage, was like $800 in a day or something like that. And we were like, fuck, we got to switch to credit-based pricing because people like, well, it was like not say a good problem to have, I guess, because it's like if someone loves your product enough to use it that much in a day, it's good. But like, yeah, it was like, fuck, we can't survive as a company if people are spending this much for the amount they're paying. And so yeah, I'd say that would be like one of those things that we had to pivot on was really pricing.
I love that. How have you guys looked? Because obviously you guys are a lean team. How many folks do you guys have internally right now at
Yeah,
Slashy?
right now we have 3 full-time people, and then we have a growth guy, and then 2 interns as well.
How have you guys looked at hiring? I mean, is it do you guys like to use kind of contractors to kind of augment until there's like a full-time need? How do you guys think about kind of personnel perspective?
Yeah. For that, we kind of we I would say like we usually like just go straight. Yeah, we'd go and hire them on a contractor basis, and then if we like them, we take them full time. Because I think one of the biggest advices people always give as a startup founder is to only bring on people who you think 10x the team, 10x
Okay.
smarter than you, and it's
Yeah.
hard to see that without working with them in terms of
Yeah.
stuff. So contracting is a nice way to test someone out, and then if
I
you don't
agree.
like them, just like end the contract without having to worry about like any of the legal stuff that comes with
Sure.
like hiring a full-time employee.
What do you guys, is there a certain type, because folks who are tuning in right now, they could be on the job search, they could be about to be on the job search. Is there anything that really stands out to you when evaluating talent that you really like to see before you bring somebody on?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just the ability to get work done themselves in terms of stuff. It's a
Okay.
really important one just because it's like, as a startup, we're still very early stage. A lot of stuff changes all the time for stuff. And so it's like hard to guarantee on a given day I have like 2-3 hours just to delegate work and
Sure.
manage. It's not necessarily like the same as like a more structured company. Like if
Sure.
you work at a bigger company, you're gonna have managers whose job is just to manage, and they can
Sure.
like give a lot more time, a lot more feedback, and like be a lot more hands-on. So
Yeah.
just really having someone who can be okay with that hands-off approach and still get a lot of quality work done in terms of stuff. Like
What? How does someone portray that in the interview, though? Right? Because I am curious. Like, do you like to see people say, "Hey, like I've done this, this, and this"? Do you have set questions? How do you like to see people communicate to you in the interview?
Yeah. So for that, I think the biggest way for me is just them talking about projects. I
Okay.
think projects and like if they've started a company too as well, like those are very useful for me in terms of stuff because it's like you can tell when someone talks about a project, how they talk about it is like how are they thinking about
Yeah.
stuff and like what they actually like and what they're doing because yeah, especially the scene passion on a project is very important, and then technical complexity as well is important. And don't get me wrong, if someone's worked at a really good company, I obviously like also have some bias there for stuff, but I would say the bigger thing is always projects like it's more likely for you to get an interview if you worked at like a big company like an Amazon or Google or something, or maybe went to a really good school, but those don't matter as much to me as like having a high quality project or something experience, just because as a startup, we only hire maybe like 1 or 2 people a year. And
Sure.
so
Yeah.
projects like it's a lot more we're like a lot more manual in our process. So that
Yeah.
means like I look at a lot more projects. We don't really use AI for anything in the process, etc. It's just
Okay. Yeah. So you're gonna go
yeah.
Sebastian. So you guys don't use any AI when it comes to interviewing or hiring.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't make sense because especially in the startup world, there's like a few really popular people that like all these AIs are gonna be like these are the best candidates. They're getting paid very high, like where I don't want to say above market salaries necessarily, but like above what I think would be a fair price
Sure.
for them in our company, in terms of stuff. And so to find the right like those kind of like diamonds in the rough, you kind of need to do it manually
Okay.
and stuff, in my opinion. And it's like I think there's a lot of quality people that slip through the cracks that you wouldn't see if you didn't
So
do
what does Slashy look like in 3 to 5 years, man? Like
that.
what's again, like not holding you to this,
Yeah,
but like if you could have it your way, like where do you guys see this going, man?
yeah. I think that like the biggest thing for us would be in like 3 to 5 years, which is what we'll probably expand into a lot more users than we have currently for stuff. And then the second thing would just be it would be a lot more like a Devin, I feel like, in terms of
Oh,
stuff. Right now, a
really?
little bit more like a cursor where like you go and talk to it, you do actions, you watch it, but it would be more like a Devin in the sense you kind of just like send it off it'll just do it automatically for you. Like you think about it and it could go just do it. In terms of stuff. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: when what did you guys? I mean, like, did you use AI to write Slashy? Like, I guess what's the code base? What did that look like? I mean, did you use a cursor to help you write it? Like, I'm kind of curious, kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would say that we definitely use a good chunk of AI to
Okay.
write it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing for us is we use TypeScript and Python, so they're very
Okay.
AI-friendly languages. And it's a lot more of like a system design aspect at this point for stuff, where it's like, where it's just like, we kind of like need to still think through it. Like AI is not smart enough to be like, okay, here's how every part of this code base is organized, but it's smart enough to be like, go write this specific block of code. So it's like faster to kind of send 5 AIs to write like different parts of the code than to than to just like do it yourself. But it's still pretty manual.
When do you let me ask you this: when you're interviewing devs, right? Because this has been something that's starting to come up more about. Do you look for people who have Cursor or Claude or GitHub Copilot? Like, do you want developers to come in with this kind of background, or does it really matter to you right now? Because I've heard kind of some differences on both ends.
I don't think it matters, is what I would say. Because if I'm getting a developer, I want them to 10x their stuff, but it's more about the thinking process. And I don't think it's that hard to learn these tools. So it's like, if I'm like looking at you as someone who's going to be with Slashy for the next 5 to 10 years, I'm not going to be worried about 1 month of learning how to do this. It's a lot more important to me the other knowledge you have for stuff. Like obviously it's like, okay, you're going to probably be a bit slow if you don't have these, and that will probably like mark you down a little bit just because naturally you're going to be a little bit slower on a project. But it's like for us, like the bar we're looking at is that if you clear that bar, the AI and not AI, I think it's just not a big enough impact to push you down the bar once you clear it.
Do you think, and by the way, Chris, who's tuning in, we talked about, he met his co-founders, you said at Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Would you think though in the next three years that it'll be frowned upon if you don't have any of these AI coding agent experience in your background? Just kind of your hot take.
Yeah, I think in 5 to 10 years, I think people who have this AI coding background, I think it's like I think it's a complex question actually.
Sure.
I think that you're gonna have to have a lot of people who don't use AI coding in 5 to 10 years, or like know how to code without AI, but it's gonna be interesting because it's like to find bugs in cybersecurity, right? The whole point is to find vulnerabilities that don't match patterns.
Sure.
Typical patterns. And AI only outputs tokens based on past pre-existing patterns it can find in past data sets. And so like naturally with that, it's like the bugs you're going to have in your code are going to be hard for AI to predict, because AI at the end of the day is just like tokens that are pattern matching based on past data sets.
Yeah.
And so to fix those bugs, you need to have someone who can think beyond patterns, which is where I think humans come in, or if maybe you can get a system of other agents to do it. I'm just not fully convinced on that yet, but I do think it's like, it depends on the site. Like if you're like a ChatGPT, it probably doesn't matter if you have a few bugs. But if you're like working on something like the FBI, the CIA, or like some fintech company, it's like it matters a lot more if you have like one vulnerability. So I think it'll be interesting, but I think there's going to be a place for like non-AI assisted devs for a long time.
Absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up here, when it comes to when it comes to growth, obviously you have a growth person. Is that growth person full-time or contract?
Yeah, they're full-time right now.
What made you hire that person full-time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just it was very useful for us, because right now I code most of the day. Like most of us mostly code, so just having someone who's in charge of like marketing and that stuff is very useful, because it's like the most important thing for any company is to grow. as
Yes.
a startup, and if you stop growing, your company dies. So it was like, when we have to work on the product, we need someone to make sure the company helps still grow, and so it felt like a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
Is there any levers that you know of that have been more successful? I mean, obviously product hunt's big. Is there anything else that seems to have has been doing pretty well?
Yeah, I think for us, it's just been growing followings on like social media, like LinkedIn and Twitter has been very helpful
Yeah.
when it comes to stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. So as we wrap up here, because I know you got to go in 5, so I want to be respectful of your time. Any last words of encouragement to founders, right? So let's say let's say you were to go back in time and tell young Harsha something. Is there any advice to founders right now in the state of tech?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just that, like, I feel like you have to really hate working a job to be a founder. Because I think it's a very hard thing, and you're probably gonna make less money than if you worked a job, especially with salaries the way it is now. It's like, if you're truly a special founder, you're probably a special employee as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
There's really, people say you have to be a bad employee to be a good founder. I think it's like, there's really actually a company that wouldn't hire a good founder for stuff, and you'd make way more money, especially with the salaries they're paying these days.
Sure.
That it's like, unless you can truly just hate the idea of having a job, you'll probably give up on your startup too soon
Okay.
in terms of stuff. And so it's like, I always tell people to work a job first, and then if you hate it, then do a startup.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, again, thanks everybody tuning in. Appreciate it. Again, these Torc talks are going to continue to happen. Go connect with Harsha. Again, we want this as a place for you to connect with people. Go connect with Harsha. Tell him you saw him today on Torc Talks. But Harsha, thank you for hanging out, man. Best of luck to Slashy. Stay on so I can say bye to you backstage. But y'all have a good one, and I'll be back tomorrow live at 9:30 a.m. Central. Y'all have a good one. Peace.